From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. Before online banking, before Western Union, before crypto, there was something called Hawala. It's a method for moving money, trusted for over 1,000 years. And it isn't a bank. It's not even a formal system. It's more like a promise sealed with a handshake. Let's say you live in Queens and you want to send money to your cousin in Karachi. You don't need to walk into a bank. You just need to stroll into a corner shop. Hand over some cash, say your cousin's name, and a man behind the counter dials up a Hawala broker in Pakistan, who then hands your cousin the money in rupees. No paperwork, no wires, just trust and memory. And when it works, it's nearly invisible. It paid dowries in Delhi, covered hospital bills in Mogadishu, and was a lifeline for people left out of the formal banking system. And for centuries, it did exactly what it was meant to do: move money quietly, reliably, and almost without a trace. But that same discretion has made Hawala a tool for something darker.
What the hell was that?
The unthinkable happened today. The World Trade Center, both towers gone, and we are all witnesses to it, and to some degree...
Al-Qaeda used it to fund 9/11. ISIS tapped into it. So did Hamas. And now, something faster, more techy, is starting to edge Hawala out.
We were all talking about how crypto is the new Hawala.
Oh, 100%.
Do you think that's true?
Yes, 100%.
That's Matt Price. He's the director of investigations at Elliptic, a blockchain analytics company. But he isn't just any blockchain investigator. He spent years at the IRS investigating financial crimes.
My time was probably more on the operational piece.
Sorry, what does that mean? Does that mean you were actually, grabbing people?
Yeah. That's about all I can say on a podcast. 20 years ago or more in the Hawala system, it's all essentially word of mouth, right? Now, crypto, it's a distributed network.
That means these days, Matt isn't scanning ledgers. He's following trails of cryptocurrency as they leap from one anonymous wallet to another. And when the money lands in the wrong hands, in the hands of criminals or terrorists, the name of one crypto platform in particular keeps coming up.
We start to see they all have a common thread where funds are at some point moved on the TRON blockchain.
TRON. It sounds like a sci-fi reboot, but it's not fiction. It's a blockchain, fast, cheap, and flashy. And it's run by a billionaire who knows how to draw a crowd and wield influence. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here, a podcast about the people making and breaking our digital world. Today, how a flashy Ethereum knockoff became the backbone of a shadow economy, a favorite of scammers, launderers, and terrorist groups. And the man at the center of it all? He might be a genius, he might be a grifter, or maybe he's the future. Stay with us. Click Here is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company has affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations. Support for Click Here comes from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. For 35 years, the EFF has been fighting to make sure that when you go online, your rights go with you. And they have a podcast. It's called How to Fix the Internet. And it's all about getting things right in our online world. Season 6 kicked off May 7th with an episode exploring the concept of digital autonomy. The fight for digital rights is bigger and more urgent than ever. EFF is at the forefront of that battle. And because it's member-supported, the more members they have, the more they can fight for our digital rights in state houses, in courthouses, and everywhere. Visit EFF.org/podcast to listen to How to Fix the Internet, and join EFF. From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here. Criminals are drawn to crypto for a simple reason. For a long time, people thought it was anonymous. But it turns out it can not only be traced back to those criminals hiding in the shadows, in some ways it's made investigators' jobs even easier. Because, as Ari Redbord, the global head of policy at TRM Labs, explains, it leaves a trail.
I have a colleague who's a former IRS CI agent, and he talks about the blockchain as a crime scene.
A pristine and permanent crime scene, one that never forgets.
Very few crime scenes can you go back 5 years, 6 years, 8 years to crimes that may have been committed and actually find direct evidence of those crimes still existing.
The blockchain is a public digital ledger, like an accountant's book, but it lives on thousands of computers at once. So once an entry is in, it can't be erased, can't be fudged. So if Hawala was a kind of whisper network, then crypto kind of shouts.
There is a great paradox when it comes to crypto. On the one hand, crypto is really good for criminals because now you can move funds faster cross-border and in larger amounts than ever before. But on the other hand, it's terrible for money laundering because every transaction is logged, immutable, and traceable. And we're just seeing this cat and mouse game play out that's always played out in the real world, play out now in the digital space.
That cat and mouse game? Terrorist groups are all over it.
Hamas was an early adopter of crypto.
In the late 2010s, Hamas became one of the first terror groups to fundraise with crypto. And at first, they didn't exactly try to hide it.
Hamas would, put out solicitations with oftentimes a picture of a wallet address, a Bitcoin address, and say, send the funds here. They show Mujahideen holding a flag up with a big Bitcoin symbol with a QR code on the bottom.
That was the strategy. QR codes, wallet addresses, a digital call for donations. They thought it was clever, that they were untouchable. But the Department of Justice had other ideas. In fact, in 2020, federal agents seized hundreds of Hamas-linked crypto accounts, along with wallets tied to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. Turns out crypto isn't so anonymous, if you know where to look. So terrorists didn't stop using crypto, they just used it a different way. They went underground. The flags disappeared. They began sharing wallet addresses in encrypted Telegram chats instead of social media. And they did this on the TRON platform with their favorite cryptocurrency, something called Tether.
TRON and Tether are two of the main ways that terrorists are moving funds. It is basically like Hawala on steroids.
This is Jessica Davis, the founder of Insight Threat Intelligence. And it's been widely reported that Hamas used TRON and Tether to move funds ahead of the October 7th attacks. Other sources suggest that Iran has used the two to move money to groups like Hezbollah. The Islamic State and groups it works with have used it too. Even the UN has talked about Tether and TRON as the preferred choice for a whole host of criminal syndicates trying to launder their crypto. Jessica says criminals and terrorists favor the TRON blockchain for 3 reasons.
It's pretty fast, it's pretty cheap, and it's pretty easy.
Compared to Bitcoin, TRON is frictionless. Compared to Ethereum, it's a bargain. And it seems to have the one thing criminals like most, pretty lackadaisical enforcement.
Terrorists will go to countries and try to operate in countries where enforcement and legislation is the weakest. To a certain extent, I think that something very similar might be happening with the crypto platforms, where they're basically figuring out which cryptocurrencies and which platforms, which blockchains they're able to operate on with impunity.
But as we said earlier, TRON doesn't work alone. It's often paired with a stablecoin called Tether.
Let's talk about Tether in particular. So they've issued a stablecoin called USDT. And the thing that's interesting about stablecoins is that they're pegged to, in this case, the US dollar. So that means that its value is really constant.
Which is exactly the point. Because if you're trying to buy, say, hundreds of AK-47s, volatility is a liability. you need to plan for how much it'll cost. And the value of Bitcoin swings so wildly, it's more like a wrecking ball than a currency you can count on.
Bitcoin, the value fluctuates profoundly. If you want to move money operationally or to support a terrorist group, Bitcoin can be a little bit of a guessing game. Like, you just don't know what the exchange rate's going to be. You don't know what that's going to look like on a day-to-day basis. It is very volatile. USDT, on the other hand, it's going to be $1.
So yes, Tron and Tether are fast. Yes, they're stable. And in the eyes of criminals, that makes them priceless.
Those are all things that pretty much anybody who wants to move money internationally is looking for, and terrorists are no different.
Which brings us to the question no one seems eager to answer. Is Tron just a neutral highway, or is it the getaway car? We reached out to Tron to talk about that, and they declined to comment for this story. Tether didn't get back to us either.
It's difficult to say necessarily that someone is complicit or facilitating terrorist financing. I think when you do have a number of terrorist organizations moving to a particular platform, you have to understand that there's probably some significant vulnerabilities there that are allowing that to happen, or that are enabling that to a certain extent.
So who might be doing that enabling? When we come back, the man behind Tron, a founder who is equal parts pitchman and question mark.
Would you eat a banana worth over $6 million? Well, that's what crypto entrepreneur Justin Sun has just done.
Some call Justin Sun a marketing genius, others a fugitive in waiting. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Lauren Good. I'm a senior writer at Wired.
I'm Michael Calori, Wired's Director of Consumer Tech and Culture.
And I'm Zoe Schiffer, Director of Business and Industry, and we're the hosts of Wired's Uncanny Valley.
It's a show about the people, power, and influence of Silicon Valley.
Every week, we get together to talk about how technology and culture from the Valley are influencing our everyday lives.
The internet really was no longer about the early days. It was about minting money.
He was swapping out the hoodie for a suit.
And it just became like the shorthand for, I'm the Silicon Valley hustle coder guy.
Or we'll dive deep into the history of some of Silicon Valley's most important institutions and figures.
So a lot of people point to parallels between Sam Altman and Steve Jobs.
Very good for engagement for Meta, for its bottom line, possibly or probably bad for humanity.
I don't know if there's any single person that I would trust with this.
Whether you're optimistic or absolutely terrified about what Silicon Valley will do next, this is the podcast for you.
We'll be there to bring the analysis and reporting you can only get from Wired.
Listen to and follow Wired's Uncanny Valley wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2019, Italian artist Maurizio Catalan unveiled a baffling work of conceptual art, a fresh banana duct taped to a white wall. He called the work Comedian, and in November of last year, the display went up for auction.
These are words I never thought I'd say. $5 million for a banana. The Catalan is yours. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed.
The bidder, who spent $5.2 million, plus another $1 million in auction fees, Justin Sun, the 34-year-old billionaire founder of Tron. He later ate that multi-million-dollar banana.
Justin Sun is known for a certain amount of stunts and self-promotion. He has a real talent for it, I'd say. I mean, there is something kind of goofy or even enjoyable about him, kind of as a character in this industry full of absurd people.
Justin Sun was born in China, studied in the U.S., founded Tron in 2017, and then he became a headline machine. He paid millions for a charity lunch with Warren Buffett. He booked a $28 million ticket on Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket.
Command engine start. 2, 1, ignition.
And then didn't show up.
He could not come to the United States to claim that prize because of his kind of uncertain legal situation.
This is Jacob Silverman, a journalist who covers crypto. And that uncertain legal situation, it wasn't just visa trouble. The SEC had charged Sun and his company with fraud. And you'd think that would slow him down, but it didn't. Instead, he changed the backdrop. He became Grenada's ambassador to the WTO. He picked up citizenship in St. Kitts and Nevis, and somehow was appointed prime minister of a micronation on the Danube that has no actual residents.
It's not clear to me that TRON as a company or Justin Sun's operations as a kind of entrepreneur and corporate executive have stuck around in any one place long enough to catch the attention of law enforcement.
Which sounds like a prank, but it isn't. After the U.S. presidential campaign, Justin Sun was back in the headlines.
He's one of the biggest outside investors in World Liberty Financial, and so he spent...
World Liberty Financial isn't just another crypto startup. It's the Trump family's crypto platform. And Justin Sun, he invested $75 million to help it get off the ground. He also spent millions buying Trump's meme coin, a purchase that came with a golden ticket, a seat at a private dinner with the president at his Virginia golf club. And this time, Justin Sun showed up, because just weeks into the new administration, the SEC quietly paused its case against him. Coincidence? Maybe, but to Jacob Silverman, it feels like something else.
He sits very much right now at this nexus of politics and crypto, but also how the more kind of gray market and illicit parts of crypto are really being brought into the light and welcomed in the U.S. legal system, in U.S. finance, and in the White House and with the Republican Party, and in a way that we haven't seen before.
For now, Justin Sun and TRON appear to have escaped scrutiny. And in fact, they say they're trying to clean up their act, or at least look like they're trying to clean up their act.
We put out a couple reports, and essentially those reports said that we're seeing, an overwhelming amount of illicit activity in the stablecoin Tether on TRON.
This is Ari Redboard from TRM again.
I think ultimately after we put out that data, they said to themselves, hey, what could we do, right, as a blockchain?
What they could do as a blockchain to address all of this was fund a financial crime unit. Last year, TRON and Tether teamed up with Ari's company TRM and created a crypto crime unit they called T3.
We have investigators dedicated to only tracing Tether on TRON full-time.
They're tracing the Tether transactions to find the telltale signs of illicit finance. In its 9 months of operation, they say they've frozen millions in illegal transactions.
We've worked with law enforcement globally, so really all around the world, to seize back over 200 million in illicit Tether.
Proof, says Ari, that maybe if TRON was complicit in the past, it isn't anymore. But others, like Jacob Silverman, aren't buying it.
Frankly, I'm not a believer that these companies have changed. There's still a lot of questions that they haven't answered, and a lot about how they operate that hasn't changed.
As he sees it, it's a basic conflict of interest. A company that investigates crypto crimes getting in bed with a company they've investigated.
To me, it seems inappropriate.
And while critics like Jacob are crying foul, it doesn't look like the U.S. government, at least for now, is planning to take a closer look. In April, the DOJ quietly dissolved the unit investigating crypto fraud. A third of its crypto enforcers, gone. The SEC has backed off meme coins. OFAC has pulled back on sanctions. And in addition to pausing the case against Justin Sun, they've also halted cases against Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and Consensus. But Matt Price, the former IRS investigator now at Elliptic, says don't confuse that with going soft.
I don't see any change on the criminal side. I don't think anybody is shying away from investigating terror financing or drug smuggling or scams. They are still working cases. They're still active out there.
The mission hasn't disappeared, he says. It's just shifted. They're still chasing child exploitation, still following the money behind fentanyl, still watching terror groups and foreign adversaries.
The North Koreas, the Irans, the fentanyl smugglers, the scam groups, I haven't seen any throttling back on that. I think it's moving away from a focus on what I would call the conduct investigations back into the more traditional criminal investigations, like They want to go after money laundering networks. They want to go after child sex abuse material people. They want to go after that. There doesn't seem to be the appetite necessarily to go after crypto businesses.
Translation? They're targeting criminal networks. But when it comes to crypto businesses, the platforms, its executives, enforcement seems to be looking the other way. And that, Jessica Davis says, may not be as harmless as it sounds. Here she is again.
There's been a lot of different moves to limit the power of investigative agencies, to stand down things like kleptocracy investigations units, and to a certain extent to prevent more rules being applied to cryptocurrency companies that all add up to, I would say, argue like a lightening of restrictions on cryptocurrency.
And that matters, because when the U.S. relaxes scrutiny, so does everybody else.
The United States really sets the tone for the rest of the world. If the U.S. isn't pushing forward with enhanced regulation, enhanced due diligence, really pushing the envelope in terms of shutting down illicit crypto activity, no one else is going to do that.
Justin's son once ate a banana taped to a wall. He said it was art. And maybe it was. Because, like a lot of art, it was ridiculous and expensive and impossible to ignore. It was also provocative. The kind of performance that doesn't just command attention, it dares you to ask why. Why tape a banana to a wall? Why build a blockchain criminals love? Why drop a lawsuit not long before a multi-million-dollar meme coin buy?
We have Justin's son, someone who never would have come to the United States under the Biden administration, being welcomed into the U.S. and actually partnering with the president on his own crypto projects. So in that way, yes, I think he's deeply representative and symbolic and important of what's happening here.
Crypto has always flirted with the absurd. Dog coins, laser eyes, libertarianism delivered via meme. But behind the spectacle is something quieter and far more dangerous. Because if you strip away the fortune cookie slogans and flashy marketing, what you're left with is power. Power that moves faster than regulation. Power that trades transparency for influence. Power that now has a seat at the table and maybe even a visitor's badge for the West Wing. And like the banana, it's beginning to rot. This is Click Here.
Looking for more of the cybersecurity and intelligence coverage you get on Click Here? Then check out our sister publication, The Record, from Recorded Future News. You'll get breaking cyber news from reporters in New York, Washington, London, and Kyiv, among others. And you'll see for yourself why it attracts hundreds of thousands of page views every month. Just go to therecord.media.
Here is some of the top cyber and intelligence news of the past week. First, a cyber attack on one of America's biggest food distributors is emptying grocery store shelves across the country and leaving some patients without prescriptions. Then, why a key federal agency designed to protect critical infrastructure may be spared the worst of proposed budget cuts, at least for now. And finally, the maker of America's best-known tractor is facing an unusual legal challenge, one that could reshape the way we fix everything. It's Tuesday, June 17th.
A cyber attack on a major food distributor is causing disruptions, leading to near-empty shelves at some grocery stores and pharmacies.
A cyber attack is taking aim at Americans in the checkout line. One of the country's largest grocery distributors, United Natural Foods, was forced to shut down some of its internal systems after a cyber incident. The company, which supplies some 30,000 stores across the U.S. and Canada, including Whole Foods, is now scrambling to restock barren shelves and get prescriptions moving again. The FBI is investigating, and so far, no one's claimed responsibility.
Patients now waiting more than 4 days for prescriptions.
It's scary. It's very scary.
Meanwhile, in Washington, a political tug-of-war has started over cybersecurity funding.
Keeping Americans safe and secure is a fundamental duty, and the measure we are considering this evening supports that mission.
The Trump administration proposed slashing the budget of CISA by nearly $500 million. CISA is the federal agency tasked with protecting against ransomware, infrastructure attacks, and more. But this week, a House panel pushed back, approving a version of the bill that would cut far less, just $135 million.
The burden to respond to the next ransomware attack on your local hospital or deadly hurricane in your district will increasingly fall to state and local leaders who lack the resources to protect your sensitive healthcare information from hackers.
As our sister publication, The Record, has previously reported, the administration plans to reduce the agency's workforce by some 1,300 people. And the fight over CISA's future may be just beginning. And finally, a courtroom drama starring a tractor company, a group of angry farmers, and the FTC.
John Deere, yes, the tractor company, is being sued by the FTC.
John Deere, yes, the green and yellow tractor giant, is being sued by the federal government in 5 states for allegedly monopolizing the repair market for its products. The company insists only its authorized dealers can service its machines. But a judge has allowed not 1, but 2 lawsuits to move forward, including a scathing opinion that mocked the company's legal strategy as just a bad sequel.
Candidate for one of the worst movies of the year, wasting...
The judge went on to channel his inner Siskel and Ebert and gave the motion a big...
2 thumbs down. I can't believe it. With all
the case could have sweeping implications for the growing right-to-repair movement and whether Americans are allowed to fix the things they own.
That's it for this week. Until then... the balcony is closed.
Today's episode was written and produced by Megan Dietrich, Zach Hirsch, Erica Gaida, Dina Temple-Raston, and me, Sean Powers. I was the lead producer. The episode was edited by Karen Duffin, fact-checked by Darren Ankrum, and it contains original music by Ben Livingston, with some other music from Blue Dot Sessions. Our staff writer is Lucas Riley, and our illustrator is Megan Goff. Jesse Neiswanger is our sound designer and engineer. Click Here is a production of Recorded Future News and PRX. Tune in on Friday for Mic Drop, which features our favorite interview of the week. We'll see you then.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.